I have COVID, so today we're going to be quibbling about COVID.
Yeah, let loose. What? How was it?
You want to know the whole story?
Well, yeah, I think so. Like, do you know where you got it?
I don't know where I got it. I can speculate, but to be honest, I really don't have any clear sense. I saw a couple of friends a couple of days before. I played a tennis tournament a couple of days before. I was riding the subway a couple of points. I was on a bus. I was into the grocery store. I was doing just normal things that I would normally do in the course of a week, and um, I just ended up with COVID.
I think it's pretty safe to say the tennis tournament probably had nothing to do with it, right? Because that's got
Probably
to
that
be
was all outside.
outside. So that's you can nix that one.
I think so. Yeah.
Seeing friends possibility, but it's like, friends are trusted groups that, you would assume aren't going to go doing things if they presume to have an illness or something like that. But
Yeah, I mean, one of them, had the COVID already before this spring, so
mhm,
unlikely to be her.
mhm.
The other person I think had it before even previous, and so that makes it less likely. But in any event, none of these people, reported any symptoms or even that, they now know that I have COVID and that they were actually, asking me, where I thought I got it. So
Right. And then, it's probably subway. I mean, presuming you were wearing a mask when you're on the subway or on the bus,
yeah.
all those things.
Yeah, I wear a mask where it's indicated to be clear. If there's no sign, I don't wear a mask, and I haven't worn a mask outside since like a year and a half ago, basically, just because I don't think that there's really much sense in that. But yeah, I wear a mask where required, and I'm triple vaccinated. I got the Moderna shot and the other shot, and I got the booster, and that was back in October or something like that. Um, I'm not, I'm not like I don't go to bars really and or go to big parties with a lot of people or anything else like that. So
Hmm.
my risk profile is pretty low. So I just think it was just kind of a lottery ticket kind of thing. I was on the wrong bus or something.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to assume it was, yeah, either a friend that was unaware. I mean, it's like, the data changes by minute, and that's probably the biggest quibble with this thing is it changes every day,
Yeah.
basically, or it's like your friends had it. And from what I understand, really that only covers you for about 30 days as far as like risk of reinfection. So it's like,
Maybe. I mean,
supposedly it's like
I
it's like
believe
diminishing
almost
returns.
nothing. Yeah,
Hmm.
that I read at this point. I mean, I'm sure I've heard that about the vaccines too, though. I've heard that
Yeah.
it's like you get the Moderna booster, and it's like great. The next 30 days, you're awesome. You're not going to get COVID, but after that, it just kind of the protection kind of falls off of a cliff. Hopefully,
Hmm.
this won't get this content won't get this video like banned or whatever. But
Yeah,
um,
for misinformation. Yeah.
yeah, but I
Just
mean, honestly, like I read about this stuff constantly, and there are just rumors and unfounded opinions circulating here and there, and it's not helped by the fact that there are a lot of a lot of political standpoints that are coming into play as well. And so at the end of the day, I don't really attribute it to anything in particular. I just think I was probably on a bus, somebody had it, they were wearing a mask if they were on a bus, and so was I if I was on a
Mhm.
bus, and whatever, I got COVID.
Yeah,
um,
maybe it's kind of like your link with your heart bar or whatever,
yeah,
and it's like throughout the day it's like you only get so many,
yeah,
like you get ten hits throughout the
yeah.
day. Maybe you picked up a hit while you were on the bus, maybe another hit on the subway, maybe another hit,
No, it's totally
playing
true.
tennis, and then
Yeah, and some of those, RPGs, like where you're walking through like a swamp, and just like
yeah,
walking through it
yeah,
hits your health meter.
yeah. But it's
Um,
like you picked it up in 10 different places throughout the day, and there was just like Edgar sneezed, and that was the last straw that was like, nope, can't
yeah, it was just like
can't
kind of a
deal.
cumulative addition of
Yeah,
COVID particles to my system, and
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Just the one that actually made
yeah,
you get the death screen that's like blah 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 blah. Yeah, yeah, finally. And it was lo and behold, Edgar there behind you. Even
yeah.
cats can get COVID. Maybe he was the last little tipped you over the edge.
It's totally true. He could have been the one with it, because I have heard as well that cats in some cases can get COVID.
Yeah.
Now Edgar's all over me all the
Hmm.
time. When I lay in the bed at any point, he just is immediately up on my chest wanting pets. And
Hmm.
so, you know, if he could have gotten it from me, he would have, because, you know,
Mhm.
I've just been whatever breathing all over him basically. But
Yeah.
yeah.
You didn't give him a little kitty mask. You know?
It would have looked cute, but
Yeah.
mhm.
Kitty 94 mask. Yeah. So you felt a sore throat.
Yeah.
I mean, walk me through it.
Yeah. All right. Sunday night. This is Sunday the 24th. You know, it was just like a normal night, and I started to feel a little scratchiness in my throat, and you know, I kind of thought allergies at that point, whatever. Um, and the next day, the scratchiness was there, and it was like a little bit more apparent, and I sort of started to have that slightly, you know, that little bit of a sinking feeling when you're like, it's not allergies. I
Yeah.
can't. No more wishful thinking isn't going to help me. I'm getting sick.
Yeah. Can't avoid
And
it now.
I thought it was going to be a cold based on that, but I had a little suspicion. I was like, maybe it's COVID. You know, it could be this latest Omicron variant. And so I did one of the at-home antigen tests that, you know, were sent to us for free via the USPS, and that came back negative. And I was like, okay, well, it's pretty early. Other than this kind of scratchy throat and a little bit of fatigue, I don't have a lot of symptoms, so maybe it wouldn't show up yet. So as the day progressed, the scratchy throat kind of became a sore throat, and that feeling started to turn into more like fatigue and a little bit of malaise. And then, you know, by the night when I was going to bed, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely sick. This feels like a cold. The next morning, had a little bit of really, really mild fever. I didn't ever take my temperature, but you could kind of tell,
Oh,
like, you got a
yeah.
little bit of fever. And it's like, all right, I'm going to do a test again. And lo and behold, that second run through on the test was positive. Um, and it was kind of just that progression, just like the sore throat got a little bit worse. It kind of peaked on Wednesday, I guess, as did like headache and feeling of fatigue and all that other stuff. And then pretty much like through Wednesday, I was just feeling kind of crap, and then sort of gradually started to feel a little bit better. Yesterday, I started to like kind of want to do chores,
Hmm.
and that's usually my signal of like I'm starting to get better if I like want to like
Clean
vacuum
up.
this place because I'm tired
Yeah.
of the dust bunnies. And then as of today, like I feel like way better. I'm not 100%, but I'm still like I'm feeling way
Yeah,
better.
you're up for a quibble, which
Up for
is
a quibble.
let's be honest, it's taxing.
It is
Only
taxing.
the most elite bodies can handle this kind of conversation. You know, it's tough on the system. Yeah,
Well, I'll have you know though that I wanted to confirm that I didn't somehow mess up the initial test that was positive. I was like, what if it was a cold and it was just I screwed it up? So I did another test today, this
Mhm.
morning. It was also positive. So
Oh, interesting.
I have some confirmation that it was definitely COVID. At least
Uh,
I'm more confident that it was definitely COVID.
yeah, I mean that's probably the most aggravating thing about the entire thing is that um oh, I woke up maybe a little hungover, or am I sick with COVID,
Yeah.
or oh, the allergies are really bad, or am I sick with COVID?
Yep.
I haven't even counted, but I've probably done 60 to 70 COVID tests over the last few months because I have to do it for work.
Mhm.
It's a daily thing. And it's not always the same nurse. It's not always the same test. It's not always the same type of test.
Mhm.
It's like sometimes it's the nasal swab, sometimes it's the spit tube or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like when you get somebody, sometimes they're aggressive, they
Mhm.
really get in there and they really,
Yeah.
muscle it in. And then some people just kind of like bloop, 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 and like
Mhm.
that's that. And it's
Mhm.
like, well, what if today was the day where
Yeah.
my test is ineffective because you didn't actually like swab me properly?
Yeah.
Um, who knows? Like I've definitely had a couple of colds
Mhm.
over the last 2 years that were severe.
Mhm.
And I've taken tests during those and neither of them have come back positive, but it's like it's like impossible to know, to actually know, I
Yes.
feel like.
Well, it's funny that you point that element of the uncertainty out. That is the administration of the test, can also be a reason why you might get a false positive or negative. And when I think about that, I tend to imagine it's a flaw in like the manufacturing of the test or something, which could definitely be true. But yeah, like the way it's administered, if that's like totally
Botched.
varying, that
Yeah.
yeah, if it's outright botched, like that's
Yeah.
going to be it'd be a mistake as well. So I'm sure that contributes to a lot of the
Yeah. It's yeah, it's all stupid. I think the worst part to me about getting sick is what you described about like lying to yourself about how you feel, where it's
yeah
like, oh, this is allergies, I'll be fine. Like
yeah
I'm gonna go about my day And
Yeah.
as the day progresses, you feel a little bit worse and a little bit worse. And then you eventually just have to admit to yourself the fact that, God damn it, I'm sick. And, you know, but let me reverse Uno card this, because
Sure.
I think there are some positives to being sick.
Mhm.
And you know, obviously it's like you can watch whatever garbage you want to watch. Like I'm pretty hard on myself.
Mhm.
Like I try not to waste my time watching things I'd rather not look at. But you
Yeah.
know, man, when I'm sick, all bets are off. Like I'll watch
Anything.
anything. And I love that about being sick. It's like I'm just gonna treat myself.
Agreed. No, it's yeah, I had a conversation with a coworker just the other day about this exact thing. There's something when you're not like seriously ill,
Yeah.
obviously, there's something a little fun about being sick because it's not even that the world grants you a free pass to kind of like take a rest. It's that you feel actually like liberated to give yourself a free pass to like really truly rest and kind of act like a blob.
Yeah.
And yeah, the movies you watch are going to be, you know, maybe awful, or maybe movies you've seen 50 times and you have no right to watch again.
Yeah. Or you shouldn't. Yeah. You
Yeah.
put these rules and limitations on yourself when you're healthy. Like
Yeah.
I shouldn't be productive, or I should do this, when, you know,
Yeah.
that's just us being indoctrinated into the like American work culture, I think, where it's like, if we're not productive, we're not good people. That's kind of how it feels a lot. So it's nice to be like, yeah, I'm just going to be on the couch.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're pretty much all better. Like, is there something that you would equate this to as far as your experience would be?
Yeah. I'm almost better, I would say. Like I don't plan on going to the gym or anything probably until at least Monday or something like that. Just because I want to make sure that I'm really totally feeling over it. I've made the mistake in the past with getting sick of kind of, you know, overdoing it too quickly. Like I'm
Sure.
excited. You know, I want to go and play tennis again. Like I'm dying to play again, but I know that if I do, I'll probably end up feeling terrible afterward.
Right. Well, not
So
to
I'm really
mention,
gonna wait.
especially if you tested positive again, it's
Yeah,
like,
just a couple days ago. Yeah, for real. But yeah, you were asking what I would I equate the whole thing to.
yeah, like strep maybe because it's
Strep.
sore throat.
Strep is almost exactly what I would call it, except without the white stuff that you see.
Mm.
Yeah, and I did check several times because it felt so similar to strep for me. Just that kind of like pretty bad sore throat, that kind of fever, fatigue, but like nothing really else is going on, like headache maybe.
Mhm.
And so I was like, maybe this feels like strep. This feels like strep. And so I would check to see like my throat, see if I had any of that stuff, and it wasn't there. But that's kind of the closest approximation I can give you. A little bit fluish, of course, because that feeling of just like malaise, and
Yeah.
I had some body aches as well, like those, you know, kind of where you feel like your joints just like hurt a little bit for no reason.
You kind of feel like you're half full of semi-set cement is how it feels to me.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like you're not yourself. You're
Mhm.
heavy. Don't want to do anything, but like you're still. It's kind of like the T1000 after it's been like hit with the liquid nitrogen, where it's like every move you
It's
make
kind
is
of
just like
slow.
a little bit stiffer and a little bit stiffer. Yeah.
And
Uh,
mentally too. It's just amazing how when you're sick, how exhausting certain types of mental activity can get.
yeah.
Just so you know, I was kind of trying to half work this week because I wasn't like so out of it that I couldn't, but you know, during that like Tuesday through Thursday period, like I was finding it really hard to keep focusing. So I kind of had to, I would like work a little bit and then I'd be like, oh my God, I need to take a nap. I like need to mentally refresh myself. So I'd like literally just like take a nap for an hour and then get back up and then watch a movie. And yeah.
Yeah. It's the only time I'm able to nap. I can't nap. Usually, you know, unless I'm like dead tired, exhausted from something. The only time I'll actually nap is when I'm not feeling well.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really have much else to ask you about. It's, you know, it's
Yeah.
just this will be, mark it right here. This will be our least watched video. I know we don't get very many to begin with because there's only like I'll watch it, you'll watch it, so that's 2 views. Mom and dad will check it out, so that's 3. Like
Yeah.
1 or 2 other people will maybe watch some of
Yeah.
it.
Maybe.
There's like
Yeah.
title alone, nobody's gonna give a
Yeah.
shit.
Well, you know, Andy, we're not doing this for the prestige and the fame right now.
I'm
We're
just
doing this because future generations will see this
fair. Yeah,
and
fair
benefit.
enough. Yeah, I'm just calling it now because it's like, you know, if COVID fatigue in the news is a thing, let me tell you, seeing
Yeah.
just a couple of dudes talk about one of us having it.
Yeah.
Gonna,
Well,
yeah.
hey, look, maybe there are people out there who just are dying to know what Matthew Trost's COVID experience was. You never know.
Yeah.
Could
I
be a
mean, I
big
was.
market for that.
I'm your market
I have
here.
72 Twitter followers.
Yeah,
Think about that.
yeah, that's pretty good. I have like 5.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm,
know who half of my Twitter followers are. They're I don't know. Most of them
yeah,
are probably bots, but
yeah, they revere you as a god, I promise you.
hmm, hmm.
Yeah, all right. Well, I don't really have any other questions about COVID.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I could to tack on to this really. I guess I've kind of like covered everything.
Yeah, and why don't we go through and rank the worst sicknesses we've ever had? I can't
That's fun.
include can't include COVID here, and how much I would recommend them, I guess. So it's
This will be fun. Okay.
yeah. So strep throat, I think, takes the cake. That to me was the worst I've ever felt from just a regular
And that
illness.
was when we lived together. Is that
Yeah,
specific incident you're referring to?
yeah, specifically,
That
yeah. That
was
was
the sickest I've ever seen you.
yes.
And
Well, it's to me, it's because it's you might as well have a flu
yeah,
because it's all the things associated with a flu, but then adding on the worst sore throat you've ever had in your life, you know. So it's just a flu times 5
yeah,
because you can't even drink water comfortably, which, you know,
yeah.
so yeah, flu would be somewhere below that. I'm not going to count um, the common cold because that's just, you know, the common cold. Everyone knows how that goes. Yeah, so I think strep number 1.
Okay.
Don't recommend it. I don't recommend getting it.
Let me think here. Yeah, I don't. I wasn't sure if we were going based on specific incidents of illness that we've had, or just the illnesses by name and generalization.
I mean, that's kind of one and
Yeah,
the same, isn't it?
yeah.
Because it's like I
Well,
haven't had strep more than once. So it's
yeah.
like, you know, I've had the flu a few times and that definitely sucks.
Mhm.
But, you know,
Well, let me. I'll just throw some things out there. I'm not sure exactly how to rank it, so I'm not going to put this experience of COVID at the top because just frankly, it wasn't as bad as most flus that I've had.
mm,
I don't think it was as bad as this time that I had strep throat a few years back. It was getting close to that, though, I would say.
yeah.
But that strep throat itself was not as bad as some flus I've had.
Oh, really?
I know that there was this year in living in New York, living in Brooklyn. It was probably my like third year here, second year, something like that. And I just had the most awful winter. Basically, it was like it was kind of early winter, I think, and I was working at the restaurant, and so I was working these long days going into the night, and I was working 2 jobs because I was doing that internship to try to get into TED. So I would basically was doing this restaurant thing, and I would do this internship in the day and blah blah blah. So I was working constantly, trying to get myself out of the service industry, and I got sick and it was like the flu, and it was just like really bad because I lived in the ass end of nowhere in Greenpoint, and I had to walk like 10 minutes to like the nearest crappy bodega to get anything.
Right.
And but it was cold, blah blah blah. I didn't like have the best stuff to wear, all that stuff
Yeah.
bad. And then like I got the flu like again, like literally the month later. And I know it's confirmed because I went to see a doctor both times and they did the little flu
Yeah.
test. So that was like the worst um illness slash series of illnesses I've had.
Okay. But
And
that's
that was the year that I started getting flu shots regularly because I found that so horrible to go through that I was like, I'm never not getting a flu shot because I
yeah,
never want
that's
that
that
again.
seems semi-compartmentalized though,
Yeah.
because part of your discomfort there was the scenario that you were in while you had it, where it's like you didn't have the support network.
Yeah.
You were far away. It was winter. You were
Yeah.
alone. You weren't prepared for it. So it's like, would
Yeah.
that have been as bad if
I
like you?
was I was stressed also because it's like, I'm losing wages that I could be getting. And then knowing like I'm gonna have to go back to work before I'm actually 100%, even if I'm like over it. And working at a restaurant when you're feeling like
Shit. Yeah.
that like flu hangover is like not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of circumstantial things to it. The other thing I just want to add is another one, which is getting mono.
Mm.
um, it was not horrible. It's just more that the freaking duration of that, where
Oh
it's
yeah.
like I just need to sleep constantly and for like a whole month.
Yeah, I think I've had mono as well, and I think that was like my experiences. It was like 3 solid weeks of just being like, I can't walk to the grocery store without feeling
Like,
awful. You know, like
yeah,
I just need to go take a nap now, and it was just
yeah,
napping all day. It's just, yeah, that was pretty bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I might be with you on the idea that like that singular acute horridness of strep might outweigh some incidents of the flu, but I will say the
Right.
flu can be pretty bad. I mean, but
Oh, I'm not. I'm
yeah,
not trying to say it's fun.
yeah,
I just think maybe. Okay, I'm gonna knock on wood. I'm superstitious enough to knock on wood.
yeah.
I feel like I've semi cracked the code on the flu,
Okay.
just because, and I also feel like I've semi cracked the code on like food poisoning as well, which
Hmm.
I have a pretty sensitive stomach, so I'll get food poisoning at least I feel like once a year,
Hmm.
via something, and it depends. And if for the flu, I'm just housing water and Tylenol
Hmm.
all day. Like I do not miss that dose. I don't let it go to 6 hours. I do it every 4 hours, and
Hmm.
it's like regardless of how quickly that gets me over it, it at least gets the symptoms to a place where I can
Hmm.
just deal,
Hmm.
and that's that where it's
Okay. And I guess I wasn't sure if when you said you've cracked the code, if you meant you figured out how to avoid it, or it's more like you
no, no,
figured out
no,
how to
crack the
manage
code
it
on,
if you get it.
yeah, like how I feel about it. Cause I mean, I've had some flus where for a week I just feel like death.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is, for some reason, I was very averse to like taking things that would, deal with my symptoms. I don't know
Hmm.
why I had that in me. I thought maybe
Hmm.
it would be better if I could like don't do it unless I just have to. At some point in my adult life, I was like, no, screw that. I'm just going to do
Do it.
the
Yeah.
amount that they say is the most I can do of Tylenol in a
Yeah.
24-hour period, and just like I don't stop. And I even have two ready next to me in like next to my bed,
Uh-huh.
so that right before I go to sleep, I take it, and then I probably wake up 4 hours later and I take
Take
it
another.
again, and just
Basically,
don't.
just your philosophy is I'm not going to mess around, and I'm not going to play games.
No,
I'm
why
gonna
not?
attack this
It's
flu.
like the damage my liver will take from all that Tylenol is worth me feeling better within a few days. I feel
Yeah.
like,
No, I mean,
yeah,
something to that for sure. I mean, I'm on team NyQuil for sure. I love
yeah.
NyQuil,
I
and
love it, but I don't like the fever dreams that it gives me. I get like
mm,
severe fever dreams when I take NyQuil.
mm,
I don't feel like I've actually rested when I do
mm,
that. It's kind of like if you would imagine, uh, putting in a VHS tape of like a home video that's been damaged enough that it's kind of squaggly on like
mhm,
an old, CRT TV or something,
mhm.
but you are just constantly fast forwarding and rewinding it. Like that's how my dreams feel, with
Mm.
like static in between.
Wow.
And I never actually feel rested after NyQuil.
I loved that description because you kind of took me to a place with that I feel like I recognize a little bit
Yeah.
in terms of the dream.
That's for our millennial viewers here, or anyone older than a millennial. There's
Yeah.
no, yeah. And then just pro tip, I don't know if you get food poisoning ever, but
Um, Rarely, very rarely.
yeah, well, for anyone who does, first of all, the first tinge of that you feel maybe be a problem, make sure you always have something 50 proof or above in the house that you can take two big shots of. Like that's number one, is like that
Okay.
alcohol will kill whatever it is in your stomach that's like
Interesting.
making your body freak out about it. If it still goes past that and you're in that state of like 48 hours of like vomiting
Uh-huh.
and shivers and you can't deal with that, I, for many years, when I would get into that state, would be so worried about putting anything on my stomach because I just didn't want to throw up again.
Hmm.
But anymore, I've learned no, as soon as you throw up, you should drink like 32 ounces of water,
Hmm.
for two reasons. Number one, because the next time you got to throw up, it's way easier,
Hmm.
frankly. And the second is that I feel like you're clearing yourself out much quicker with that.
Hmm.
And I'll get over that, much faster now, just doing that, just constantly chugging water.
Okay. I'm really liking these tips.
Yeah,
These are like life pro tips that
that's how I feel about it.
should
I
be in
mean,
the
I don't
journal.
know. Yeah, your mileage may vary,
Yeah.
but for me, that really works. Whereas, I would previously spend 24 hours like unable to walk, with the
Yeah.
dry
Well,
heat.
I can remember when you were a kid, you'd
Yeah.
have have more stomach issues when you got sick, period, than I
Yes.
would.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of it was because I was so afraid that if I put anything on my stomach, it just meant I was going to throw up again, which, let's face it, that's like the thing. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody likes throwing up. You want to avoid that at all costs. But once you realize it's going to happen
Not at
anyway,
all costs, but yes,
yeah.
avoid it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to happen
I'm more
anyway.
saying that partially for our dad's benefit because, as you know, um, our dad is he's very averse to throwing up, period. And
Mm.
even if throwing up would basically save him 48 hours of nausea, he still doesn't want to because just the idea of throwing up is so terrible to him.
Yeah.
And this is something, you know, I've spoken to him at length about. Dad, since I know you're watching this, you just got to let yourself throw up.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about the water is that it makes it so much easier.
Mm,
It's like the whole process of vomiting is no longer the prolonged dread of it, which is obviously the worst part. Like, because sometimes that can last quite a few minutes where it's like, this is going to happen.
yeah.
Now you're going to okay, now I got to wait for it to actually happen. If you chug all that water,
Yeah.
it's going to be simple. It's always very easy. This is our most disgusting quibble, I feel like.
You got to hit these topics now and then,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, uncomfortable or not. Yeah, I feel like we got to talk about it. I mean, the
Yeah.
world needs to grow up,
Right.
frankly.
It's a part of life.
It's a part of life. And now let's make it easier. That's my PSA for those things.
Somebody out there will be helped by this.
I hope so. It's certainly helped me. Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been the quibble on COVID. I would not recommend it. It wasn't for me. It was not the worst thing ever, though. But I'm not going to recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, if you recommended getting sick to people, I would probably change my opinion about you in a significant degree. Like, you know, it would move the needle. If you're like, I recommend you get sick, I would be like, Matt just is like, no, here instead of here. Yeah. 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 Cool. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Yeah.